Hello, I'm Adrian Blackledge.
And I'm Angela Creese.
And for our provocation, we're going to read a scene from an ethnographic drama, which is an outcome of a large research project which we were involved in between 2014 and 2018. And in particular, we're going to focus on a welfare advice service in a Chinese community center in Birmingham. Here we observed over 4 months as clients came for help with all kinds of welfare advice, including immigration, education, insurance, particularly welfare benefits. And often they were coming because they weren't able to speak English, but more so because they found the bureaucratic systems they were encountering to be difficult and challenging, and they needed support with this.
So we just want to give you a flavour with some of the photographs taken from the site. You'll see that this is a typical community space, in the sense that it's low on resources and it's often low tech. So here we just offer you a few images of the kind of context we were collecting data in. There were 3 researchers involved in collecting data: Adrian Blackledge, Angela Creese, and most centrally Rachel, who was sitting in that space. So you can see from a very, from the photographs, it's a pretty small, tight space, and only Rachel was able to go and do the observations. And the ethnography took the path of what is typical. That is, we did observations, we took photos, we took audio recordings, and also did some video recordings and made a short film. As Adrian said, the interactions were mostly in a combination of Mandarin, Cantonese, and English, and Rachel was central in collecting that data and in translating that data.
We conducted the analysis of the linguistic material collaboratively. The 3 of us met every week for several months as we went through the audio recordings and field notes and other data that we had collected. We wrote a substantial 70,000 word research report. But having done this, we weren't entirely satisfied that we were really capturing the interactions within the advice service. And so we turned to ethnographic drama to enact the interactions that we had observed. And so we produced the ethnographic drama interpretations, published now by Multilingual Matters. And we're just going to read one scene from this. There are 29 scenes. We'll read scene 2, in which a client, Chang, comes to the advice service and speaks to one of the advisors, Li Fan. Chang is having difficulty with an insurance claim which has been turned down by his insurance company, and he doesn't understand why, so he's come for some help with that. So I'm going to read the part of the advisor, Li Fan, and Angela's going to read the part of Chang. Originally, the interactions between Li Fan and Chang would have been in Mandarin Cantonese, which are translated into English for this purpose. The interactions between the insurance representative on the other end of the telephone and Li Fan are in English. I will try to indicate when Li Fan is speaking on the telephone by doing something like this, so that that's clearer to you. So just to remind you, as we join the interaction, Li Fan has just spoken to the insurance representative on the telephone. She said they've contacted the police and they're still waiting for a response.
The police?
There's this form called disclosure. It's to see if you've ever committed a crime.
I have never committed a crime.
She says your claim's not valid.
Why is it not valid?
He says, why is this claim not valid? She says, when you took out the policy, you failed to complete the disclosure. She says, you should have completed the disclosure.
What is the disclosure?
He says, what is the disclosure? She means the criminal disclosure. Do you mean the criminal disclosure? She says, yes, the criminal disclosure.
I haven't made a disclosure.
He says he hasn't made a disclosure. She says you failed to complete the basic criminal disclosure check. It shows your convictions.
I have no convictions.
He says he has no convictions. She says you don't have to have convictions.
I have no convictions.
He says he has no convictions. She says you failed to complete a disclosure.
They didn't ask me to complete a disclosure.
He says you didn't ask him to complete a disclosure. She says they did.
I have never heard of it before.
He says he's never heard of it before. She says it's standard procedure. You have to send your ID, like a credit card or driving license, and £25. You have to pay for the disclosure. Do you have a record?
What record?
It's called a conviction. It includes everything. Criminal law, civil law, economic, any kind of conviction has to be disclosed. It's compulsory. You have to disclose your convictions.
What should I tell them?
It's the procedure. It's their way of dealing with things. There are things they need to know. If you don't comply, it might affect your insurance claim. You have to do as they say. Disclose any convictions or they won't process your claim.
So I have to commit a crime?
You don't have to commit a crime. It's called disclosure. Once you fill it in, they can track down any criminal record if you have one, or they can see if you have a clean record.
I have never heard of it.
He says he's never heard of it. She says without the disclosure, your claim is not valid.
But I have the insurance certificate.
He has his insurance certificate. How does he have the insurance certificate if he had to provide the disclosure? She says without the disclosure, the certificate's not valid.
But how did I take out the insurance without the disclosure?
How did he take out the insurance without the disclosure? She says without the disclosure, it's not valid. Was he told that when he took out the insurance? Were you told that when you took out the insurance?
They never mentioned the disclosure. I have never heard of it.
He wasn't told about the disclosure when he took out the insurance. She says you wouldn't have been able to take out the insurance without providing the disclosure.
I have been paying for the insurance.
He says he's been paying for the insurance. She says without the disclosure, it's not valid.
But I have not committed a crime.
He says he's not committed a crime. She says it doesn't matter whether you've committed a crime. It doesn't matter whether he's committed a crime. Oh, it does matter whether he's committed a crime. She says whether or not you've committed a crime, you must provide the disclosure. Disclosure of the crime he did not commit. She says you would have been asked to provide the disclosure.
I have never heard of it.
He says he's never heard of it. She says it's standard procedure.
I have never heard of it.
He says he's never heard of it. She says you would have been asked to provide the disclosure.
I have not committed a crime.
He's not committed a crime. She says without the disclosure, your claim is not valid.